Another topic that I've been thinking a bit about is like if you set up, like you have a huge system, of course, the dilemma or the problem of being very a pure play investment company, or diversifying and having maybe less volatility. Is there any easy answer to if you have the system you have? Of course, the relevant example, of course, now that is being talked a lot about is, of course, CMB Tech. They want to diversify. They don't want to be a pure play. In Oslo, I feel like many of the companies that has created big shareholder returns has maybe been highly levered, pure play, get in at the right time, get out at the right time. But that doesn't give you maybe the legacy of building a 100-year-old company in the same sense as maybe if you're a bit diversified or long-term thinking. In shipping in general, is that always a thing you have to think about that makes shipping a bit unique as well? If you build another company, you can just compound. If you're a retail company or if you're an infrastructure company, you can always compound and just keep building on it. But shipping has a different kind of nature, I guess.
Yeah, I think this is a very interesting discussion to have, and history will tell who's right in the end. But I think if you go back in history and you look at companies like Bergesen, for instance, here in Norway, AP Moller in Denmark, which essentially were conglomerates with tankers, dry cargo, gas, offshore, everything under one umbrella. And let's say, and you compare that business model with the pure play shipping companies that we see today, like we are also a pure play company, a shipping company, like you say, within the LPG and VLGC space. I think there is no doubt that when the times are good, you are able to return more shareholder value in a pure play company than in a more diversified company. So I think that the challenge with pure play companies is how do you play the downturn? Because the upswing allows you, since you have that very focused exposure on the market, which is returning a lot of capital, right? So the upswing is not the problem, it's how you actually manage the downturn in the market. And then I think if you look at ways to protect that downside, I believe that pure play companies are still going to be favored by the shareholders because let's say the visibility and the transparency they obtain through the dividend, and we also focus a lot, like other pure play companies, on a relatively transparent dividend policy, so that you as an investor know what kind of return you can expect when the earnings are at certain levels. So you
don't then see a big infrastructure project or using that capital, you want to return it as efficient as possible. Yeah,
so I think that, so if you look at historically how pure play companies have been able to return value to shareholders, I think it's superior to this conglomerate thinking. And then the shareholders can obviously also sell off their shares if they want to, if they don't believe in the market any longer. But I think from a company perspective, then it's all about how to handle that downturn which you have in a volatile market. And that's what we are doing now, for instance, with building up some more time charter coverage, ensuring that we have a robust balance sheet, so that we can also and we also have a trading arm, which we can talk about later, which is making us more robust than the typical shipping company, boom and bust shipping company has been able to. So I think it's for me quite evident that pure play shipping companies is what the shareholders favor in this world, at least.
What is the lessons of being now dual listed in Oslo and New York? Is the future US investors generally, is that a trend, it seems like, for some big companies, or is it good to have the combination?
I think there are two different investor bases, basically. So in the US, they are much more focused on revenue and yield, and while here in Norway, especially, it's still more focused on NAV and underlying values. I think it also depends probably where you are in the cycle. You know, right now we've been fortunate to in our market to return quite a lot of dividends to our shareholders, and that's typically something which attracts a lot of American shareholders. Norwegian investors historically have been probably buying more lower in the cycle and then selling also on the back of increased values and market sentiment in general. So I think it probably, we have about 50, if you look at the daily liquidity, we have about 50% of it in New York and 50% here in Oslo, which we are very happy about, by the way. If it's, you know, if it's going to be more in the States in the future, could be, but we also have some very, you know, we have very good support in the Norwegian and European market as well. So we see that the understanding of the shipping industry in the Norwegian and the Scandinavian investor base is generally higher than in the States. In the States, they come in because of they come in from the energy angle typically. So they are investing in other companies in the energy space, and then they look at shipping as a proxy for that. And of course, then if you top up with a nice dividend yield, you know, you get on the radar. So it's a different angle on let's say, from the various investor bases and how they find the company attractive.
But are you fearful of, you know, too much regulations in the Nordics and EU and stuff like that makes you want to delist and just be in New York, or is that over-exaggerated?
It's a lot of regulations and compliance regulations in the States too, I can assure you, with SOX compliance and so on. So I think now for us it's, you know, we'll manage that, you know, for us the most important thing is to be listed and make sure that we create shareholder value on the back of that listing. And I think what we have seen is that we have increased liquidity. We could not have done the Avance deal, I think, without having that New York listing in place. So it's for us, and you know, a vital part of our strategy, our capital market strategy.
Yeah.